Hi there, I'm Jesse with The Movement Athlete, and today we'll be talking to you about how you can achieve the press to handstand through these progressions. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to have an understanding of how to train the press to handstand, some useful progressions that we use in gymnastics, and the overall technique for efficiency. So take a look. So for the first progression of the press to handstand, I like to start off and train the movement pattern. So for this one, we'll start off in the supine position, which is the face up, and the arms will be overhead. And what we'll do first is pike the body where the legs are over the head with the feet touching the floor. And as Jared starts to move, he's going to be compressing the hips more where his feet drag the floor. He'll slowly start to straddle. And as his lower back hits the floor, he's going to shoot for really a straddle split here, 180 degrees, and then he'll close the legs up and finish up in this simulated handstand position. Okay, so we'll take a closer look at the hip compression. You can see how the legs are close to the head and torso. And as he compresses, he'll simultaneously open the hips, close the legs in the second half of the press to handstand. So I'll go through a couple more reps. And you're trying to go through really one tempo, one controlled tempo, mimicking a press to handstand movement. And the beauty of this exercise is you're training the muscles and what needs to be engaged through the core, the hips, the tempo of the movement without having to worry about balancing in a handstand or the strength of your shoulders. So opening the hips, which means the space between the legs and the torso are getting bigger. So this will help with timing, understanding the compression, and again, we're removing the capacity constraints of balance and strength in the shoulders. So this is the supine pike press to handstand movement as our first progression. The next progression will be the press to headstand. Start off by standing in a straddle. The hands will go on the floor. The head will move in front of the hands to get a tripod formation. You slowly want to lean your weight into the hands and head. The legs should glide and float off the floor. And we're straddling and closing it together, holding briefly, and then we'll reverse the movement back down. Straddling, compressing, return to the floor. So here you can see we're mimicking a press to handstand with what the lower half of the body is doing. You're upside down, you're getting a familiarity with being inverted, how the legs have to straddle, open, and close, along with the balance of being upside down. And now what's interesting about this is you actually shouldn't be too vertical in the headstand. It's got to be a little bit behind vertical, meaning the feet will be more over top the elbows rather than the head. So an obvious prerequisite to this progression is to have a headstand in the first place to make sure it's safe, and to even know how to forward roll out of it, because there'll be plenty of falls and failures along the way. Okay, so the next progression is going to be the straddle stand walk. So we'll start in basically a bear walk position. So straddled legs, hands on the floor. The goal is to have straight arms and straight legs, and this is really dependent on the flexibility. But it's the idea of leaning and lifting the legs so the feet come off the floor. So how do you get weight in the hands and get the feet to become weightless? So first, the idea of can you get the feet off, can you move them forwards? All right, and then as you get better, you start to get your feet closer to your hands and really land next to your hands, which requires more compression and higher requirements of shoulder strength and hip strength. Good, and then so you can also reverse this movement by doing the same thing, by lifting feet off the floor and then moving them behind you. So again, we're leaning first in the hands and shoulders, get the weight into that position. Feet become weightless, legs become weightless, and it's the idea of how can you transfer this weight into the hands and have the lower body become weightless. fourth progression we have for you in this press to handstand series will be the plank to pike stand or straddle stand position. In our example today, we'll be using 2 scooters. This could also be replaced with furniture sliders or socks on a wooden floor, something that's going to reduce the friction. So the first position we'll be in is the straight arm plank position with 1 foot on each of the scooters or sliders, whatever you're using. And you'll be initiating the movement through the core by trying to pull your legs closer to your hands. And you'll be using the psoas muscles in the core. So we're repeatedly just going from plank position to this straddle stand position. And something not to do would be to have the shoulders behind the hands. So the shoulders are behind the hands, the weight distribution doesn't work right, you're not training the shoulders well enough, and really it doesn't work. So secondly, we can do this in a pike position by keeping the feet together. So it's a mini upgrade within this progression of starting with feet together and keeping the feet together. Now this requires more hamstring flexibility, but you can see that it's a similar movement and the legs end up in between the hands. Arms and legs are as straight as possible on each rep. Our next progression that we have for you will be a press to handstand at the wall using physio ball and the wall. So this will be similar to our last progression in how we'll be piking up the body as we did with the sliders or the scooters. We're going to be adding the second half of the press in. So Blake will show us our next variation here for progressions. We'll start in the straight arm plank position. Notice his hands are turned out to the side. It's going to be around 6 to 8 inches away. This is variable. Where he is on the ball, at the knees, shins, maybe the thighs area. This depends on the size of the ball, of course, but for Blake, the ball we have here, this is going to be the shins and the knees. So first what I'll do is I'll pike the body up by pulling the physio ball towards the wall, and I'm going to be guiding this a little bit. And then next, straddling. Notice the hips, lower back on the wall, gets to the handstand, and then we reverse the action back down again. Straddling, closing, finding the ball, and then back out. And we'll repeat a couple more times. Good. Pressing, lowering. We'll do one more that's actually going to be piked, just to show you another variation on the way down. So keeping the legs together, an eccentric pike press like this. Great. Okay, can hop off. So again, for this progression, we used an exercise ball, and you'll probably want to find a friend to help you out with this because typically as the press to handstand happens, the ball can easily roll away or not be in the right position when you're coming down for the rest of the movement. So I was simply there to anchor the ball for Blake to make sure it was there. You could also use sliders, the furniture sliders, and put one under each foot and do the same exact thing. And in that instance, the slider will tend to be in the same place you left it when you left the ground to come back to it. So that's another good replacement. So how strong are you? Calisthenics is the ultimate in body weight training because it's fun, challenging, and rewarding. But it's also difficult to know where to start in the whole process. So that's why we created a free calisthenics fitness assessment. And what this will do is it'll help you find out exactly where you are in your pathway of calisthenics mastery. It'll help create personalized workouts for you. It'll help you achieve your goals faster. So we want everyone to have access to this regardless of their budget and location. So as long as you have internet, you'll be able to take control of your fitness program. So click below for the free assessment tool.